such good shit! Hey, it's Mark Rodriguez here. It is the second episode of the Diving Cutter Wrestling Podcast. If you guys remember, we used to record our wrestling reviews in our long show called Mark Marks Out Wrestling Aftershock Reviews in the video format, but now we're doing it in a podcast format. And with me we have...
Johnny Rodriguez.
We have the Macho Taco, aka Taco Rocco.
Now today's podcast will be just the three of us. Mr. Chuck Rodriguez is out celebrating. We'll explain later on why, so we don't spoil anything. And Mr. Jack Knives is also kind of busy today. But of course, it's Memorial Day weekend. Everyone's doing out. Everyone's out, I guess, not social distancing with the cookouts and stuff. So it's understandable. And so the last episode, our premiere episode, we were doing our predictions of Double or Nothing while Taco kept track of like our predictions. So we're going to kind of go over that. But before we do that, we're going to start off with some news here. And, first of all, unfortunately, kind of start a bit of on a serious and somber note. We actually lost one of our potential future superstars. We lost Miss Hana, who was a Stardom superstar. I believe, Taco, you told me she's a second-generation wrestler.
Yep, she's a second-generation wrestler. Hana Kimura, she was 22 years old. Unfortunately, from what the reports have been saying, she took her own life due to social media bullying, which it's an unfortunate thing. I mean, especially in this day and age, it happens a lot. And, you know, she could have had depression or what have you. And that's not something to joke around with. And I'm not a huge fan of hers. I didn't know a whole lot about her personally. I've seen a few of her matches, not a whole lot. But someone that's 22 years old, passing away and or taking their own life, it's heartbreaking. It actually happened on the 23rd, which was, at the time of recording of this podcast, was yesterday, early in the morning. It's just a sad thing that happened, and we wished her family well, and anybody involved with her well, and also anybody else that's dealing with that issue. Try and keep your hopes up, but it's a sad thing that happened.
Yeah, and of course, nothing excuses this behavior. Basically, what happened is she was cyberbullied to all hell and back on Twitter and possibly other social medias, and it got nasty. I don't see most of the quotes. I'm not going to repeat any of them, but it got nasty, and I think it got to the point where I guess they were egging her on to do what she did and stuff, and it's just terrible. From what little I can understand of the backstory, again, it's nothing excuses what happens, but I guess it's important to find out, how we got here. She was on some reality show in Japan as well as doing wrestling, so I guess it was kind of like, reality show with, a professional wrestler as well or whatever. And apparently in this episode, she put her wrestling gear into the wash, and a male co-star didn't notice and accidentally put his stuff in the wash too. I'm assuming the wrestling gear got kind of messed up from the wash, so she got all up on his face about it, and I think she smacked him or whatever. And apparently, I don't know if this guy had his own fan base or it was just a case because, I don't know, Japan's a different culture. Maybe it's how dare this woman slap this guy around? I don't know, but that got, I guess, everyone up in arms and made him act, nasty towards her on social media. And, we ended up with how things ended. And, yeah, all the wrestlers that have ever known her, they've all reached out very strongly. When I woke up in the morning, everyone was posting all these, positive things and anti-bullying things that took me a while to figure out that this tragedy happened as to why everyone's talking about, anti-bullying all of a sudden. And what can I say, guys? It's, there's just no excusing it. We just gotta learn to be nicer or something. We always gotta remember that you don't know sometimes how it feels like to be like the person on the other side. You know, people can make comments and jokes about, oh, you're not thick-skinned or whatever the hell, but everyone's got their stuff going on, and not everyone can take criticism as easy as others, and some people got other things going on in their mind, or they just have some kind of, I guess, psychological issues or past traumas or things, and just, I don't know, you just gotta keep that stuff in mind, guys. Don't lay off of people. And also, if the people, you never know who's kidding or not. A lot of people are gonna probably say, if we don't stop saying this, I'm gonna end it all. You don't know if they're joking or not, or if it's serious. So don't egg them on. Don't taunt them. Don't dare them to do it, or don't, because you just never know. You just never know. And unfortunately, for most people, they're just never going to be held accountable for it, because they'll always say, "Well, it wasn't my fault in particular," but yes, it was, because you kind of contributed to that. So we just gotta be nicer to society, in general. Just because we kind of hide ourselves behind like this screen name or fake avatar or whatever, doesn't give us the right to be super assholes to each other. Like, that's the thing. I don't know. We just got to do better. What I can just say, because we lost someone that was on the way up. I mean, they could have eventually been an AEW or WWE or whoever superstar going forward. I mean, 22 years old, start of her life, and yeah, we lost someone important due to all this, due to the way we treat each other.
Exactly. One thing else I just wanted to mention, with her ring gear getting washed, that was actually the ring gear that she wore to Wrestle Kingdom 14, which was the most recent Wrestle Kingdom event. It was the first time there was a women's match ever in the history of Wrestle Kingdom. It was on the pre-show, but that was a big, not big, that was a gigantic accomplishment for women's wrestling in Japan, for females to be on the same card as a New Japan show at Wrestle Kingdom. That is the biggest venue that you can go to in the Tokyo Dome, which, honestly, I would be pissed too, personally. I mean, it would probably mean a lot more if it was gear that I wrestled in at a specific show like that, something very important like that. But, I agree with you. People think wrestlers aren't people, but they're people and they have feelings, and they need to be considered as people. And, we need to be nice to everybody.
It was like what you guys said. People have to account for the kind of things you say to people. You can't just say stuff like that and not expect anything to happen. Well, visitors are still people, so they might have a bad day. They might have, what Mark said, they might have trauma. They might have a lot of going on. And they do not need to hear that kind of negative feedback or insults. Some people think, oh, it's funny, it's whatever, but you don't know how that affects that person. So, people really need to, I don't know, be careful. Like on social media, it doesn't mean it's a free-for-all. They can just say whatever you want to say and insult people or whatever and not expect any type of consequence. So I don't know. That's what I got to say about it. It's a very tragic way to somebody that has so much potential and at such a young age. I mean, come on, at 22, right? It's like it's too young. People have to stop with this whole cyberbullying BS.
And that's the world we live in, man. I mean, I don't know. Back when we were kids, the internet didn't even exist yet, or if it was, I think it wasn't back in the 70s or 80s. The internet was used to communicate between submarines or some shit like that before it became, the big thing it is now. But bullies are always around. But I just can't imagine growing up in this day and age when you're like bullied at school or some crap, and then like the bullies follow you home, so to speak, because you hop online and he bother you there too. That's like, damn.
Yeah, I guess I'm kind of fortunate because I grew up like right in the transition period of social media. Like I graduated in 2011, so the social media bullying wasn't very big when I was younger. When I was a teenager or so, um, I was fortunate enough to be kind of friends and cool with everybody, so it didn't affect me too much. But I mean, this girl's only 5 years younger than I am, so we kind of grew up in similar generations, and it's just a thing now, like to just piss on people for whatever, like and it's just not cool. I mean, I can talk crap about a wrestler or what have you, but I'm not gonna make them do something that they, do something that's gonna make a huge impact on them. So, I mean, it's just, I saw that news whenever I went to sleep that evening, and whenever I woke up in the morning, and it's just, it's still heartbreaking.
I also gotta give credit. I know that we're also still kind of responding to what happened with Mr. Shaq Gaspard. And yeah, I mean, we were expecting some kind of like tribute to him in the AEW pay-per-view. I'm glad that they, I guess, adjusted, or how should I say, shifted gears, because this whole Kanat thing happened like so like recent, like almost like the day of or whatever, that they still took the time out to still give her, like her memorial, her recognition. Now, on other news that's like it's not good news, but it's not as bad as of course this is way more tragic. And the other news kind of sucks too, but it's kind of like, well, at least in this case life goes on, so to speak. I just I don't want to give like other news and make it sound like we're belittling what just happened, because I think this thing with Kana is just terrible. But apparently Ember Moon from WWE, which now I'm regretting that she signed up for WWE. She had an injury here. It looks like she tore her ACL or something, doing a stupid skit chasing R-Truth around, because I guess they're still doing that 24/7 belt. I didn't know that thing was still a thing. I remember the 24/7 belt being introduced sometime before I just jumped off WWE and just went full all in to AEW, pun or whatever. So yeah, unfortunately, this injury looks like she might have to actually hang it up for good. It's like a potential career-ending injury. I don't know if they officially gave the say just yet or not, but it could be an official career-ending injury. And I mean, Ember Moon, she still got quite a bunch of years on her and everything, and she was a superstar in NXT. Uh, they didn't know what to do with her in WWE, and it would suck for her to have to hang it up for good, because that means that she has no options. If she can't wrestle anymore, she can't, move on to another company later on or something like that, and that really bites, especially over a stupid skit instead of some, 5-star match or something.
Yeah, I mean, she was former NXT Women's Champion, and as soon as she got called up to the main roster, she went absolutely nowhere, which was unfortunate. I mean, she's been wrestling, if I'm not mistaken, since 2007. So she's been wrestling for 13 years. And she's only 31 years old. So she's still relatively young. She's basically hitting the prime of her career. I mean, it sucks. Hopefully it's not the end of her career in wrestling. But since she got called up to the main roster, they haven't done anything with her. The only thing I can remember them doing with her was in one of the women's Money in the Bank matches. I think it was in 2018. It might have been 2019. She had a very, very good spot where she did a springboard splash onto a ladder. And if I'm not mistaken, I could be wrong. I think it was against Sasha Banks, but like I said, I could be wrong. It's just, unfortunate that someone's still in the prime of their career is potentially going to be cut short. I just wish her the best in her recovery, though.
Yeah, the thing I didn't like is like, and that's the thing though. These people, like, they could be as big as all hell, on NXT and then reduced to nothing in WWE, even though they're supposed to be the same person. Sometimes their character shifts. Like, in NXT, Ember Moon was a fucking beast. She was fucking savage. You don't, like, people were scared of her, character-wise, And I was watching some clips from back in the day. You got this scene where she's on her Switch or 3DS or whatever the fuck. It was one of those consoles you can fold up from Nintendo. And Sonya and Mandy, I think those were like together. Sonya Deville, Mandy Rose, started picking on her like high school kids or some crap. And they grab her console and they bend it backwards or break it in half or whatever. And they leave. And Ember just like looks sad and stuff. And it's like until they leave that she starts like screaming and flipping out and throwing things around. And I'm like, dude, NXT Amber Moon would have fucked your shit up then and there. She would have screamed, but she would have fucked your shit up then and there. She wouldn't be like waiting till they go away because she's, I guess, scared of them or whatever. Like, dude, that'd be like someone picking fun at Shayna Baszler or something and having Shayna like cower in a corner until they're gone or something, in a new storyline. It's like, no, what the fuck? No.
Yeah, I like her. I've been one of her biggest fans since she debuted. She has an awesome finisher. She's very good in the ring. And they just never gave her the opportunity after she won the women's title in NXT. That's, like you said, whenever someone gets moved up to the main roster, they're a completely different person. It could be anybody. I mean, Ricochet, Nakamura, Sami Zayn. I mean, the list goes on and on and on. And they're just not using talent how they should be used. And she got injured in this for a stupid reason. I mean, doing a segment for the 24/7 title, she should be fighting for one of the women on the main roster. But she's not blonde and has big tits, so she's not going to get pushed.
And another thing, the two big things WWE has, their two biggest problems when it comes to NXT, like I guess the transitional phase between NXT and the WWE is, number one, they fuck up their character or their whatever they have, their going overness. All that gets fucked up when they come over. Sometimes, unless you're lucky, there's been certain few that continue their stardom, And the second thing is, okay, you bring in like 10 or so people from NXT, you do nothing with them. They're not in any storylines. They're just kind of there. And instead of using them, let's bring in 10 more. And let's sign up some guys from TNA too and other people. Let's bring in 10, 20 more guys. We haven't used these guys yet, and we got no place for them, but let's bring in 10 more guys.
Yeah, it's just, I mean, I agree. I mean, they're squandering talent, and talent that could be used for a better purpose. I mean, Ember Moon could be a mid-card to upper mid-card talent or an upper-card talent. I mean, she could be in the title picture, but she's doing absolutely nothing. And she's been in 2 Money in the Bank ladder matches, and the feud that you mentioned with Mandy and Sonya where they bullied her, she lost singles matches to both Mandy and Sonya Deville. And then she teamed up with Bayley when Bayley was still a face, and I mean, she started a losing streak, and they've done very little to nothing with her, which is very disappointing. Like I said previously, I hope the best to her. I hope she recovers from this injury and comes back full force and starts kicking ass.
And if not, I wouldn't mind seeing her in AEW or something else whenever her contract expires. I kind of like how these guys kind of go back to their names, Like we got Brody Lee, we got John Moxley. I wouldn't mind her coming back and calling herself Athena like she used to. That would be kind of cool.
Yeah, I mean, and that's the thing that WWE isn't understanding. These talents can go to other promotions and they can be pushed correctly. I mean, you see you see it with Brody Lee. He is put in the world title picture almost immediately because he's a legend on the independent scene. He was very, very severely underutilized in WWE on the main roster. I mean, he was good. He was falling wide around, but whenever he whenever the Wyatt family broke up, they did very little with him. I mean, the Bludgeon Brothers was cool because they were a dominant team. But if I'm not mistaken, I think it was Eric Rowan that got hurt, and then they had nothing to do with Harper, a.k.a. Brody Lee. But I've seen some of his matches on the independent circuit, and he actually had a match with another person who I think is severely underutilized that could be, he is getting up there in age, but he could be a dominant force on the independent circuit or another promotion as a pro. There's a cage match that him and Claudio Castagnoli at the time and Brody Lee had in an independent promotion, and they tore the house down. It was probably one of the better cage matches I've seen. But there's countless people that leave, and they're elevated as soon as they leave. And people will say, oh, they're a former WWE guy. Not necessarily, because they were in a different promotion prior to being at WWE. Like, Moxley was in CZW. He was a big-time player in CZW. He's a big-time player on the independents. So is Brody Lee. They're not... People are making them be quote-unquote former WWE guys. But they've been to different promotions. And some people go to WWE, they do well. Some people don't. Case in point, Juice Robinson. He's in New Japan right now. He was CJ Parker in NXT. The only thing I can remember of his run in NXT was breaking Kevin Owens' nose on a TakeOver pay-per-view. They did nothing with him. They gave him a stupid gimmick. He was pretty much a hippie and was all about peace and love, and that's just, that gimmick's not going to go anywhere.
Yeah.
Left NXT and went to New Japan, and the fans of New Japan, the Japanese people, they love him because he is charismatic. He is very good in the ring. He's actually a former IWGP United States champion and a former IWGP Tag Team champion already. I think he left maybe about 3, maybe 4 years ago, if I'm not mistaken. But you can go somewhere else and get over. Same with Hideo Itami, who is Kenta now. He was in the, if I'm not mistaken, it was All Japan Pro Wrestling. No, excuse me. It was Pro Wrestling Noah, and he's in New Japan right now. He's a member of the Bullet Club, and he is at the top of his game prior to the COVID happening. So you can go somewhere else and get better and be pushed correctly how you need to be pushed.
And I was telling Johnny the other day, yesterday actually, I was telling him like you put Dean Ambrose versus Luke Harper. Like, I wouldn't necessarily say it's a bad match, but it's like a cool down match, or it's yeah, okay, that's a match, whatever. Well, you put John Moxley and Brody Lee, that's fucking main event material. That's like, holy shit, we gotta watch this.
Yep. Yeah, they were the co-main event at Double or Nothing. I mean, and in WWE, they would be, maybe for an IC title at Extreme Rules. Some throwaway pay-per-view. So, like I said, I'm going to stick to this point. You can go somewhere else, and you can get the push that you need and get the respect that you deserve at a different company, because WWE is not going to push you.
So right now would be a good time to kind of get started on the event. So what we're going to do now is Taco actually took some good notes with the pay-per-view, little things worth mentioning here and there, because if you guys remember in my previous reviews, I'm very guilty of this, especially the ones that are mostly flippy shit. I literally forget all what happened from one day to the next, and I just kind of basically say that the match had some good back and forth, and so one. I usually remember at least, the final sequence to one or whatever. So in this case, Taco got us covered on more actual spots and actual things that came to mind. If anything comes to mind, Johnny and I will mention it. And yeah, we could mention after that who we voted for. You can of course vouch for Jack Knives and Chuck Rodriguez in their absence, and then we'll just give our overall thoughts on the match, and we can just kind of go one by one.
Yeah, and I kept tallies on the match, and I will tell you who the big winner of the evening was and who the loser was of the evening as well.
Oh boy.
So whenever you're ready, we can get started with the first match then.
Okay. Yeah, so let's get started. So we'll begin, of course, with the buy-in match, which was Private Party going up against Best Friends, and I believe it was whoever won gets like a number one contender spot to go against the tag team champions. And I have to admit, I missed half of it because the Bleacher Report was acting up. It kept saying, it kept saying either it will start shortly or whatever, and I had to refresh it a bunch of times before it finally kicked in and said, the show was on live. So I missed the first good 10-15 minutes of it. That was kind of annoying.
So this match, I'm honestly going to say, was a disappointment for me, unfortunately. As far as the other matches on the card, I really thought this one might have stolen the show. Trent and Chucky looked very good. One point, Trent did hit a solid Northern Lights suplex that was kind of a springboard off the ropes. Mark Quinn also had a nice standing moonsault at one point. Trent has very stiff chops during the match. Isaiah Cassidy did have a botch on Trent. There was a DDT when Trent was coming inside from being on the apron. Kind of disappointed me a little bit. Went to the outside. At one point, Trent has a nice spear there. There was a nice avalanche-assisted suplex from the Best Friends. Trent sold his ribs the entire match and didn't forget about it. Sometimes I've seen that happen before where someone should be selling an injury where they're not. Another thing I do want to mention, Mark Quinn has a nice drop kick. The big note that I put on this match was Private Party is still green and inexperienced, even though they've been actually tagging since 2015. One of the big things, too, that I saw from this match that kind of made me it actually made me very happy, is Private Party did a G9, which was one of Crime Time's finishing moves at one point. I feel like if there was a live crowd there, it would have popped the crowd. There's a few near falls, too, but ultimately at the very end, the Best Friends hit a strong 0 for the win. And as far as the predictions that we have go, I myself picked the Best Friends to win, as well as Jack Knives picked Best Friends to win. Chuck picked the Best Friends to win as well. But unfortunately, Johnny and Mark both picked Private Party to win. So myself, Jack, and Chuck are up 1-0 as far as this match goes in the prediction con. But ultimately, at the very end, I do want to say this was kind of a disappointing match for me, which is unfortunate. Because I thought this was going to be the match that tore the house down, but ultimately it was a disappointment to me, which is very frustrating. Because it had the potential to be a very good match. Because Chucky T and Trent have been wrestling for a long period of time. They've been tagging together for 7 years. Mark Quinn and Isaiah Cassidy, aka the Private Party, they're still very young. Neither of them are over 30 years old. Mark Quinn, and like I said, Mark Quinn and Isaiah Cassidy, they have a little bit of work to do, but I'm not going to just fault them completely. It was kind of on both sides, but like I said, this was kind of a disappointment. But I am happy that the Best Friends win, and now they're the number one contenders for the tag team titles in AEW.
Yeah. For me, it was an interesting match. I mean, again, I was too busy fumbling with the what do you call it, Bleacher Report Live, which I'm not a fan. I'm sorry, Cody and all you guys. You really should have picked a better service. I don't like how Fight TV only works if you're not in the country, ironically, because that's perfect. Like Fight TV works perfect on my PS4 app. I'm still watching on my computer, so I missed half the match. Again, with a lot of the super fast-paced, aka flippy shit matches, I kind of forget the spots by the time it comes to like review them the next day or so. There was one spot I seem to remember that made me go like, "Ooh, that was nasty." Wasn't there a spot where one of the private party guys had like, I think it was Trent, the guy with the rib injury. He had like his knees pressed up against his back, and with the guy trapped like that, the other guy, the other private party guy, jumped off and landed knee first and him. It was like he was caught between both knees like that, and I was like, damn. And on top of that, they were mentioning, of course, his ribs are injured. I was like, double damn.
Yeah, that was I actually had that spot written down, but I for some reason didn't mention it. If I'm not mistaken, Isaiah Cassidy had was on his back, and he had Trent locked up. Mark Quinn did a moonsault, a standing moonsault, mind you, and it was right on Trent's back. That was probably the best spot of the match. But like I said, other than that, forgettable match. I mean, it was decent, I guess, but a lot of the time, buy-in matches or pre-show matches aren't supposed to be bangers. And this definitely wasn't one, but that's probably one of the most memorable spots that I can remember personally. But I know exactly what you're talking about. I apologize for not mentioning that previously.
Yeah. I was mostly distracted because I guess like the Vegas atmosphere got me homesick. I saw all the card designs. I like the little slot machine thing going off in the background that actually spins and stops, like if someone's playing the game or whatever. And then I saw like Vicky Guerrero in the background and shit and everything. I was looking for Noelle Foley, and I saw her Instagram. She posted her regrets that she couldn't make it. I'm like, dude, they should have signed you up to be one of the random background extras. But I guess Vince McMahon would have said no to that one. That's not good shit or something. To have Mick Foley's daughter there.
Shit.
Yeah, to have Mick Foley's daughter there. But yeah, I mean, it was a so-so match. I don't know. I mean, it kind of got my appetite, started like for bigger things to come. But yeah, you know, and yeah, the best friends won, and I guess it kind of made sense because like you guys mentioned in the predictions, they were pretty much the workhorse during like
Yep.
this the COVID era, the non-audience era, and everything. Now, in Johnny's defense, I believe he was still on his way home from work from that, so I think he came in like more in the middle of the ladder match. I'm not sure if we have any thoughts. So yeah, so the next match now for the official like beginning of Double or Nothing 2020 was the Casino ladder match for AEW World Title shot, and yeah, it was kind of funny because instead of like the whole Money in the Bank briefcase thing, it was like this giant poker chip that said Double or Nothing on it. So they were fighting for a poker chip, and nothing made me more homesick for it because again, the whole Vegas theme. It did a great job following the whole Vegas theme for this pay per view. And offhand, you can remind me if I missed anyone, but we had Orange Cassidy, we had Frankie Kazarian, and Scorpio Sky, which is interesting because they're both part of the same, team, SCU. We had Kip Sapien, Penelope Ford there, but surprisingly, they also had Jimmy Havoc there, who was not officially part of the match, but as there was like no disqualification, he was allowed to go in and cheat and whatever without costing Kip the match. Um, Luchasaurus was there. Of course, Joey Janela took the place of Ray Phoenix. He was out for injury, so we got Joey Janela there. And, well, you guys can probably name them as we go along. But the thing is, this match also had a bit of that, I guess, Royal Rumble feel, sort of, where the match would start out with Frankie Kazarian and Scorpio Sky, and then every 2 minutes, a new guy would come in. And, of course, at the end, the ninth mystery person, I will leave that for Taco to mention. The final mystery person would be the last one in. And of course, it's, a mad dash to get the ladders, get climb it, whoever can get that poker chip first.
Yeah, I mean, this was one of my favorite matches because of all the spots in it. But like Mark said, Frankie Kazarian and Scorpio Sky started off the match. I personally like the red ladders And also at the beginning, Kaz, aka Frankie Kazarian, is a lot more athletic than people give him credit for. He's also a legend. He's been around for a long time. He was in TNA. He's very good, and this showed this too. The third competitor after 2 minutes was Kip Sabian. And like Mark said, Jimmy Havoc was in there. He helped him a lot. Hit Kaz and Scorpio Sky with a ladder. Havoc bumped twice for Kaz, which is pretty cool considering he's not in the match. And that's what Jimmy Havoc does. He bumps a lot. The number 4 entrant was Darby Allin. He was on fire to start the match. Then a little bit later on, he tried to do a skateboard trick off of one ladder onto another ladder and missed, and he looked like he screwed up his knee big time. I don't know if it's kayfabe or if it's shoot or what have you, but he wasn't around for a big majority of the match after that. My favorite part, and it made me chuckle, because wrestling's fun. It needs to make you chuckle. It needs to make you laugh. It needs to make you happy. Orange Cassidy going over to the announce desk and asking Excalibur how to win this match. Hilarious. I've never seen that before. It cracked me up. I enjoyed it a lot. Number 6 competitor in was Colt Cabana. Boom, boom, Colt Cabana. Comes up behind Cassidy. They try and figure out how to... Well, he tries to help Cassidy win this match. Or not win this match. Figure out how to do this match. Colt Cabana bumps for Sky and Kaz. Kip bumps on the ladder for Sky and Kazarian too. Very, very stiff kicks from Orange Cassidy is known for. Number 7th entrant is Joey Janela. At this point, I wrote down in my notes that Darby Allin disappeared. Joey Janela comes in like a house of fire, starts bumping and going crazy. The number 8 entrant is Luchasaurus, who is the biggest guy in the match at this point. He cleans house, powerbombs Kip Sabian to the outside, choke slam on the ladder to Kaz. Darby's still selling his knee. And the number 9 entrant is the mystery entrant, and also, we will get to this point too, he's actually the person I picked to be the mystery entrant, and to also be the winner of the match is Brian Cage, the fucking machine. He is honestly probably one of my favorite big men in wrestling. From what I've read on reports, he actually signed with AEW as soon as his Impact contract ran out. He was actually still hurt, and Tony Khan or Impact was Tony Khan or AEW was paying him while he was hurt, so he could be ready for this particular pay-per-view, regardless of COVID or what have you. He actually came out with Taz too, so hopefully, and this is actually a good thing for Brian Cage too. Taz is going to be his mouthpiece, because I think Taz is a very good talker, and he's a legend in the wrestling industry. He rips the ladder in half as soon as he comes out. I have written here he destroys Darby Allin and Kip Sabian and Scorpio Sky and Joey Janela. Mind you, I'm writing this as the show's going on, so I just have to keep adding and. During this, it cracked me up too. Someone said, "fucking motherfucker." I believe it was Joey Janela. It cracked me up a little bit.
Yeah, it was him.
It was very enjoyable for me, especially with the unedited version of it. It wasn't on a tape delay or anything or what have you. Kaz and Cage climb with Orange Cassidy. Orange Cassidy's on Brian Cage's back at one point. Everybody tries to pull him off. Everyone teams up on Brian Cage because he's a fucking machine. He's a beast. They throw him to the outside. They dump ladders and a big-ass casino chip on top of him, and he's out of the match for a little bit. And I also have written down here, Jimmy Havoc's a dick. If you want to watch the match, or if you watch the match, you'll see why. Orange Cassidy had a hurricane spot on Luchasaurus. He tries to choke slam him, and it doesn't work because Luchasaurus is huge. Orange Cassidy's not. I basically had in here at this point guest people come in. Penelope Ford comes in, Chuck Taylor comes in, Trent Beretta comes in, Marco Stunt comes in, and it's just a big mess. Janela does a Death Valley Driver to Orange Cassidy on top of Brian Cage, on the poker chip. It looked like it hurt really fucking bad.
Yeah, it did.
Cage, later on, I have here in my notes, Cage rises from the dead under all that garbage. He has a sequence with Luchasaurus, and it's phenomenal. Two big men. I hope they have a singles match together at some point. They had, if I'm not mistaken, I believe they had matches together in Lucha Underground because they were both in the promotion together. Cage destroys Darby Allin with a drill claw, which is kind of like a Scott Steiner's finisher from back in the day.
Yeah.
And he puts him on a ladder in the corner. It doesn't work. Darby kind of slides out, so they kind of reset up the spot, which is a little shaky on my opinion. But Cage eventually picks up the entire ladder plus Darby Allin, throws him to the outside. I was terrified for Darby. And after that, ladder set up in the middle of the ring. Brian Cage climbs up the ladder, grabs the poker chip. Your winner and number one contender for the AEW World Championship is Brian fucking Cage. And I'm so excited by this. But, I mean, if you're not following everything that I'm saying, go watch the match because there's a lot of shit that happens. But I'm very happy that Brian Cage is in AEW. And people bitch about AEW not having big. Now there's Wardlow, Luchasaurus, Brian Cage, Brody Lee. There's enough fucking big men in AEW now. So people need to stop.
My God. Yeah, this one was difficult to predict because, of course, there was always that thing with the mystery man. Who can predict? I remember I voted for. I was thinking the mystery guy was going to be Pentagon Jr., and I was thinking that he was going to win it if he was in it. So obviously, I was wrong. But yeah, what can I say? It was a hell of a match. It was crazy. People were everywhere. I was entertained by both the Royal Rumble aspect of it with the countdown and also the giant poker chip. Kind of took me a while to realize that, oh, they're fighting for the poker chip and all that. And it was funny seeing Orange Cassidy like asking how to like what he has to do to win the match, following his sloth persona. Like it's kind of like you see it in his face when he finds out like, oh man, I gotta fucking set up a ladder and climb all the way up and shit. Like really, like he didn't want to do anything. He didn't want to set up the ladder. So that was funny. Taking full advantage that there was no disqualification, so Jimmy Havoc got in there, did a lot of cheating and stuff on Kip's behalf. I almost forgot that, technically speaking, he couldn't climb up and get it himself, but he was at least helping Kip and everything. Joey Janela was pretty cool. Lots of good spots here and there. Whenever Brian Cage finally made his entrance, I was like, holy fucking shit, the dude ripped the ladder in half. And he's fucking huge.
Yeah, he's a beast, man.
Huge dude.
He's literally like if Scott Steiner didn't do steroids and just worked out all the time. That's exactly what Scott Steiner would look like back in the day.
And the thing is, he was so huge that, I mean, the first thing that came to my mind, because I remember you guys mentioned he was a big guy and all that stuff, and I of course, for the podcast, I put up a photo of him for reference and all that, but I guess it just didn't register until I saw him, like, in person walking around, or, you know what I mean, not in person, but actually walking around and stuff, and I'm thinking, like, the first thing in my head is, like, who the hell in AEW can take this guy out? This guy's monstrous. There's no one else. Not even like Lance Archer or Wardlow, maybe Wardlow, but like this dude's like huge and a whole other level, man. He was destroying guys left and right. He made it known that he was like the one. And I'm glad that to drag out the match a little bit so it wouldn't end there because it looked like he was going to just conquer, destroy, and just win. I'm glad everyone like got together and buried him under some shit so they could still keep the match going a bit longer and not have him like steal the whole show. And yeah, that spot with
that was Joey Janela to Orange Cassidy on
yeah,
top of Cage, which was on top of that poker chip.
Yeah, and I'm not sure if the chip was really that heavy or not, but they really sold it well. That it took like 4 or 5 guys to carry the big ass poker chip, almost like if it was like an oversized fucking sewer grate of how heavy that thing looked. On top of Brian Cage, on top of like ladders under junket hat on him, and to have Joey Janela basically spike Cassidy on top of that, like, dude, that was crazy, you know. And Yeah, we did have that moment too when eventually Kazarian and Scorpio Sky were both in the ladder face to face and had to kind of slug it out between the two of them to get the chip because, they're buddies and all, but in the end only one can win. And yeah, it was pretty clever how Cassidy was in the back of, I think it was Brian Cage, trying to win it that way. And I was getting ready. I was getting set. Like, that would have been so funny if he actually won that way by climbing on someone else's back and getting the chip. But yeah, in the end, Brian Cage won, and it was a good match. I'm entertained the whole way through. And the thing that kind of stood out to me with this pay-per-view is it was just a long day, and now the temperature is finally getting hot in our part of the world that just loves the cold. And I was just worn out, tired, whatever. But the moment this pay-per-view started, I was like fucking wide awake through the whole thing, and I just couldn't get my eyes off the screen. The match was just that good. It was amazing. It was entertaining. Like all the guys were in there. We had Penelope Ford and Marco Stunt and all that. Orange Cassidy actually pushed Penelope Ford off the ladder, and she fell onto Kip Sapien, who was I think he was up against another ladder. So that kind of comes into play later that night too, and everything. But like just all this madness and just Brian Cage being Brian Cage. That was a hell of a match. I loved it. It was a good one.
Did miss a little bit of the match because now I remember that I just barely was getting home and logging in and all that stuff. So I don't really have a really good clear memory of everything that happened in that match, but it was crazy. Everybody fighting versus everybody. And then of course when Brian showed up, it was like holy smokes, that's a huge guy. Like he's obviously going to be able to beat everybody up and win the match. But I did like the fact that the match was really long. Like, it was kind of, I don't know, there's just like so many surprises within the match. So I like it overall.
The best part about it is we're going to see Mox versus Brian Cage for the AEW title. If I'm not mistaken, it's at the next pay-per-view already scheduled. I'll mark out constantly, but I love Brian Cage a lot. I did want to mention, too, for this match, as far as our predictions go, I was the only one who picked Brian Cage to be the mystery participant, and I picked him to win the match. Just to recap, Jack picked Flip Gordon to be the mystery participant and to win the match. Chuck picked formerly known Zack Ryder, Matt Cardona, to be the mystery participant, and Scorpio Sky to win. Johnny picked Pentagon to be the mystery participant and Darby Allin to win. And Mark picked Pentagon to be the mystery participant and for him to win the match. This is one of the ones that I'm actually proud of. I tried to dig up as much dirt as I possibly could to find out who the mystery participant was. There's a lot of different rumors going around too, and I just figured he hasn't wrestled in a while. He hasn't shown up on Impact. He was healed up in about March or so I picked Brian Cage, and I guess I was right. And I'm actually sitting at 3 points as the leader right now, as far as the end of this match goes. I did want to mention, too, Brian Cage is a gigantic nerd. His finishing moves have been called Weapon X, which is a reference to Wolverine in Marvel Comics. He also had his finishing move that he used during the ladder match that's reminiscent of Scott Steiner's finishing move. It's called the Drill Claw, and he was also called the Swolverine at one point, too. So, very big nerd. Very huge person. Works out 3 to 4 times a day. So he's fucking massive. And I think he has a good shot against Moxley, but that's probably for another day.
Now with him being a big Wolverine fan, like he doesn't need the claws. If he gets in the pose that like he's gonna come at you and he says, "Let's go, bub," you're like, "Oh shit, I'm fucked." Like how fucked am I?
Well, you newer people that aren't very familiar with Brian Cage, did you see how his facial hair was shaped?
Yeah.
He has the little, you know how CM Punk tried to do the Wolverine whenever he was in WWE when he cut his hair? He tried to do that too with the mutton chops. Well, he does that with the mutton chops, but Brian Cage is a lot more massive than CM Punk is.
Well, yeah, that's understatement. And not only that, but he's also a lot more massive than John Moxley. So even though John Moxley likes to get in there and just fuck shit up, I'm just curious how that's gonna go. Like, I want to see them tear each other up, but I'm just curious how it's gonna go because there is a fucking considerable size difference between those two.
I mean, same with Mox and Brody Lee too. But I mean, Cage isn't weight-wise a lot heavier than Mox. He just is in phenomenal shape, and he's a fucking animal. He's in ridiculous shape. So I hope they beat the piss out of each other. I'm very excited for that match, actually.
Okay, so now for the next event here, we've got MJF going up against Jungle Boy. And yeah, I'm surprised. Even though Wardlow was there, he actually stayed out of it, so that was cool. And yeah, I'll let you do the play-by-play there.
Okay, so as far as Jungle Boy and MJF goes, I thought it was a very, very good match. A few key spots and key moments. Whenever they were both doing a handstand, they had their legs wrapped around each other, slapping each other in the face. Beautiful. Love that spot. MJF is a super heel. I'll say that multiple times probably during this. He sold his knee at one point, got heat, attacked Jungle Boy again. This entire match, Jungle Boy was selling his injury to his left arm. There was a nice whip into the corner by MJF to Jungle Boy. There's a trifecta by Jungle Boy, Tope Suicida, and if I'm not mistaken, a plancha. He had a nice springboard DDT. There's a nice double stomp by MJF to Jungle Boy's left arm on the turnbuckle. Like I said, this is kind of a Cliff Notes version. Just kind of giving a small breakdown. There was a good sequence of chops. Big note I have in this match, speaking of chops, this is the red chest match because they chopped and slapped the hell out of each other the whole match. There was a nice destroyer by Jungle Boy onto MJF. There was a nice kind of reminiscent of a Pentagon driver by MJF to Jungle Boy for a near fall. They were outside on the apron at one point. Jungle Boy gave MJF a, if you want to call it a poison Rana or a rewind Rana or a reverse Hurricanrana. It was on the apron and it was terrifying to look at. That was definitely the highlight of the entire match for me. There was a nice top rope powerbomb to MJF by Jungle Boy. At the end, MJF wins semi-clean. They were doing a corner rolls and kind of reversing each other's roll-up. This match, though, showed me that Jungle Boy is actually a lot stronger than he looks for his size. But like I said, in the end of the match, MJF actually picks up the win. And it was semi-clean for as far as how heelish MJF is. I was very surprised by that. I personally thought that Jungle Boy was going to win this match. But this is one of those rare occasions where the loser looks strong in the match, too. This is going to boost both competitors up very well. And I was actually very happy with this match. This might have actually been one of my favorite matches on the card.
Yeah, for me, I love the match. It got me very invested. I like when a match has like two people involved, and you kind of don't think the other guy could really do much to the other person. You're like, size difference, skill difference, or what have you. But then the match itself does a good job of making you believe the other guy can do it. So I was like, holy shit! Like I believed that Jungle Boy was gonna beat MJF. They weren't like, I don't know, when they're like up against each other, there's not really that huge of a size or weight difference, like obviously MJF's a bit heavier, but it's not as glaring as you would think when they're like, feet apart. But when they're up in each other's faces, they're kind of more even. And yeah, Jungle Boy delivered lots of good moves. I like the chop exchange. I like how they did it where like Jungle Boy could take MJF's chops while MJF's nearly like falling over himself every time Jungle Boy delivers the chops back. I mean, those are some, I could feel them from the TV, man, or the computer. Like, those are some painful chops that Jungle Boy is delivering there. And as for MJF himself, I'm also impressed by his skill. The more matches I see with him, the more I'm impressed by his skill. The very first couple of times I seen him, I wasn't too impressed. I was impressed by his mic work, but not like his actual in-ring work. I was kind of like, well, they're superstars that are more about the talking and not so much like their thing. Like I guess you watch them more for their heelish antics and not necessarily for their in-ring skill. But and you don't really need, I guess, a lot of in-ring skill to defeat the likes of Brandon Cutler. You can just toss him around a few times to call it a day. But between the match that MJF had against Cody and now the match he had against Jungle Boy, I got to see way more maneuvers, all these like submission type holds, and just the way he can twist himself. It's kind of impressive, actually, the stuff MJF can do. And it kind of sold me on him, too, to see more matches where he's more forced to actually pull up all his skills and not just, toss a guy around for a bit and brag or whatever. Yeah, classic MJF faking the knee injury to distract Jungle Boy to get him and everything. And in the end, it was just so damn close. It was so damn close. I really thought Jungle Boy was going to win, but then MJF did, like the last match, he did that thing where I guess he's just that worn out from the match that he just collapses on top of the other guy and gets the pin that way. When I saw that, I'm like, oh, fuck, yeah, he won. But, like, damn, he won. And he won clean. He cheated here and there, but he won clean. And, no Wardlow interference, no weapons or whatever, no rings or whatever. Like, he won clean. And that was pretty good. I really wanted, I know Jungle Boy was a face, but it was so close that I really wish Jungle Boy could, like, I guess, break character and just attack him like sore loser style or something. But I understand he's a face, he can't do that. But it was just so fucking close. And MJF still like, bragging at him. He's still like I'm the future, not you. I'm the guy. I'm the top guy, not you. Like I really wanted to be like, man, fuck you, And I hope they go at it one more time and of course let Jungle Boy win. But that one got me invested, man. That one got me almost like standing up and yelling at the monitor. That was a good one. What do you think, Johnny?
Much like what you guys said, this match had way less cheating than I thought there would, considering that it's MJF there, the way he is. I'm going to give it to you guys. Jungle Boy, I mean, even though he didn't win the match, he's really good. He's very athletic. He's very fast. I mean, even though his arm was injured, he was still able to do a lot in this match. So that shows that he has a lot of persistence in him. He has a lot of fight in him. And I really hope that there would be more matches with Jungle Boy. I'm very impressed with him.
Oh, yeah, definitely. I mean, and the kid's only 22 years old. I mean, he's got an entire career ahead of him. I mean, he did very well. This is one of the, like I said previously, this is one of those few moments where the loser of the match still looks strong. Like, it was a good match between both competitors, and they're both very young. MJF is... What is MJF? He is 24. So it's a 24-year-old and a 22-year-old. So that was a very good match for two people that are under 24 years of age. They're not even in the prime of their career. And that, I thought before this pay-per-view started, when this match was announced, this was going to be this is going to steal the show, and it stole the show for me. This was probably my favorite match on the card, actually.
Let's be honest, if Jungle Boy was in the WWE, he would be like a forgettable wrestler by now.
Or he'd be a jobber. He would be losing constantly.
The match would have lasted less than 2 seconds.
Also, I did want to add on, as far as our predictions go, myself and Jack both picked Jungle Boy to win. Unfortunately, we chose incorrectly. Mark, Johnny, and Chuck all picked MJF to win this match. So as far as that goes, it's getting very close as far as the predictions go. It's still anybody's game. There's still 6 matches left. So good job, guys, for picking MJF to win.
One thing I want to say, though, I was surprised just how good the match was. It was intense. Like I said in the previous podcast, I was even like, why did they bother Like for me, it kind of felt like an unimportant match. It could have just been an episode of Dynamite or something, or that would have been like a cool down match or whatever. Because I just didn't really see MJF versus Jungle Boy as being like a pay-per-view worthy match. But like, holy fucking shit, did that change my mind real quick when those guys actually went at it, you know?
Oh yeah, I mean, I think I said this on the podcast, and I'll say it again. I might have said it just a little bit ago, but this was my dark horse for match of the night, and they both delivered. MJF being a heel, being a dickhead, perfect. Jungle Boy being the underdog. I mean, this honestly is probably one of my favorite matches of the entire card. It was perfectly done.
Okay, so the next match we have was for the first ever AEW TNT champion with the American Nightmare Cody with Arn Anderson in his corner and the Murder Hawk Monster Lance Archer with OG Jake the Snake Roberts in his corner and no one else but Iron Mike Tyson himself coming out to not only announce what the new TNT belt would look like, but also to hand it over to whoever would be the winner. And also apparently Iron Mike Tyson was granted free reign to do whatever he wanted to do. If he wanted to step in or whatever, like they wouldn't stop him. He would do whatever he wanted to do in the match. So you had that kind of looming over your head. Now, one thing I do want to mention is that due to COVID and stuff like that, the TNT belt is not 100% finished. I believe they got to add more like brass plates or whatever. So like what it looked like now during the event is I guess the first draft, unfinished version, the prototype version, whatever you want to call it, but that's not like the final version of the belt once they're once there's more time to detail it. But I mean, it didn't look that bad. It looked pretty cool to me. With extra brass on it, it'll look even more badass, but it was a pretty good design.
Okay, so first off, I'm going to have to disagree with you, Mark. I did not like how it looked. That's the first note that I have. Hopefully they make it look a lot better whenever they get it all together. As far as the match goes, I did like Archer's helmet that he came out with. I thought that was really cool, actually. That's another first note that I have here. To start off the match, there was a blackout to Cody. Cody rolls out of the ring smartly. Archer did have a cool counter to the Cody cutter at a later point in the match. There was also, they were fighting to the outside, and Archer had a cool, I want to say a choke throw, because it was in a choke slam position, but he threw him from the seats on the lower level to the ringside area, in front of the barricade area. I did also love Lance Archer's old school that he does. Does the arm wringer, climbs up on the rope, does the walk to almost the other side, and does the moonsault. That dude's fucking huge, and however he does the moonsault, I don't know. Also, another thing I want to mention is they put the camera on Mike Tyson, and he was yawning. It cracked me up a little bit. Cody's working the ribs the entire match. Archer throws Cody over the ring post. I was fucking terrified for that spot. He picked him up and, over his head and over his shoulders and threw him over the ring post to the outside. I was a little nervous for that. If there were fans too, Lance Archer would have massive heat because he was jaw-jacking and back and forth with the fans, and Big Swole was in the crowd. He was fishing at her. I've actually seen Lance Archer in person and at a Ring of Honor show, and I was in the second row, and he actually spit at a guy right in front of me because the guy was making fun of his tattoos. He would have gigantic nuclear heat. Honestly, this match made me think if there was fans there too, Archer could be the top heel in the company because people fucking hate him, and he gets people to hate him. So he did very well for him this match too. Another good spot too was Cody did a DDT right in front of Jake the Snake. Archer came back with a spine buster in front of Arn Anderson. So that was really cool. Cody also did 3 moves of Rhodes. he did the bionic elbow. He did the punch, roll up, or not roll up, rolled his hands together, did the Dusty Rhodes elbow, did Dustin's finishing move, and then did his crossroads for a 2 count, which was, I thought that was a good sequence as well. And then he followed up with a Stinger Splash, and that, if there was fans there too, it would have popped them because it popped me. Another choke slam by Archer. Cody kicked out at 2. There's a decent amount of near falls in this match. After the choke slam with the 2 count, Archer came back with the EBD claw, and he couldn't finish it up. Archer tries to go old school again. Arn Anderson gets involved in the match, which I was very happy to see. And he kind of pushed Archer off and kind of disoriented him. Cody follows up with a shaky, in my opinion, reverse superplex. I was a little bit scared for that spot, but they managed to do pretty well with it. Then eventually Bryce Remsburg, the referee in the match, kicks Arn Anderson out. And then Jake the Snake gets kicked out too. He comes back with the Snake. Mike Tyson scares him off because Mike Tyson's, I guess, big and scary, apparently. Cody, then Lance Archer tries to go for another blackout. Cody reverses the blackout into a crossroads, picks him up again, does another crossroads. 1, 2, 3. And I can bitch about this in a little bit, but Cody Rhodes wins the first ever TNT championship. But what do you guys think about that match before I get into my fishing mode of this match?
I liked it. It was pretty close. I was surprised when Archer did the blackout from the beginning, and I was thinking, oh shit, like, are they gonna do that thing where one move just takes the guy out, like, surprisingly? But no, Cody still rolled out of the way, and the match started proper. Lots of callbacks here and there. I do like that. I did like the Cody doing the DDT in front of Jake the Snake, and then Archer followed up with the spine buster against Arn Anderson, whatever. I like the difference because Jake the Snake was fucking pissed, man. He wanted to, like, get in the ring, like, how dare you do my DDT, Sonny, and whatever. While Arn Anderson was more like, yeah, all right, that was a decent spine buster. Man, can't do it better than I can, but yeah, I'll give that to you, Sonny, or something. There's a difference in their, like, attitudes and stuff. I'm surprised they didn't get into each other's spaces though, but and I'm also surprised that I guess Cody being the face, there was Arn Anderson that did cheating and got them both kicked out instead of Jake doing something instead, but and yeah, I was a little surprised he kicked out Jake, because technically speaking, he didn't do anything, but I guess it was kind of like, to be fair, if you're going to kick one out, kick them both out. But I thought that when he kicked out Arn Anderson, that was a sign that Archer was going to win, because now Cody had no one in his corner, while I thought that Archer was going to still have Jake the Snake, but no, he got kicked out as well. And, yeah, I like, I don't know, the back and forth, Archer yelling at Swole in her face or whatever, and Jake was saying something like, yeah, that shut you up, bitch, and whatever. And they just, I don't know. It was just little moments like that. And Tyson being there, just yawning or being, like, he loved all the painful stuff. Every time the people would do all these painful slams and things like that, they would zoom back to Tyson. He'd be like laughing or putting his fists up or like, yeah, keep the carnage going. Yeah, that was, I don't know. It was weird, considering who he was back in his prime. And that was another thing I was gonna say. Yeah, that spot where Archer threw Cody off was kind of scary because the ring post, like Cody's leg, just barely missed the ring post. I'm sure if it connected, that would have thrown off the whole angle, and that could have been dangerous. That was kind of scary. The only thing that stood out to me, it was like an exposed ring post, and he did throw Cody way over it, but my mind kept going, because now I know more about injuries and stuff, that if that was like ill-timed and Cody's leg like so much as tapped it, that would have thrown off the trajectory and fucked everything up. That made me hold my breath and everything to make sure it was okay. But yeah, I was actually surprised that Cody won though. I mean, I was glad, I was happy and everything. But I was surprised that in the end Cody did win because I mean Archer just looked like a fucking monster. He was destroying him like hell. He was trying to do the other blackout and everything. I honestly thought that after doing the crossroads again, he would still kick out because I don't know. Like for me, it just didn't look like final. Like he still got kicked out of that, I guess. But yeah, Cody won. You know, he got the emotion going, got the tears and everything. He's got his title belt. I always figured that if he can't win the main one, if they wanted to like stick to it and not do like cheesy loopholes and stuff, at least he can win the TNT belt. You know.
Okay, so unfortunately, I'm having like a memory loss moment at the time, so I don't really remember most of the match, but all I know is that Cody was getting a beat down non-stop in the match, and it was almost incredible that he actually won the match, you know. I think I predicted him winning the match, but in the actual match, it was like, I don't know if he's going to win this. But yeah, it was a pretty good, intense match, and by surprise, there wasn't that much cheating going on. Correct me if I'm wrong. Usually in these kind of matches, you would see a lot more cheating. So that's kind of surprising.
Yeah, I mean, the only cheating that I can recall was on Cody.
Oh, Cody always cheats a little.
Yeah, a little bit. But he's still a face, so. But as far as the predictions go, Johnny and Mark, you were the only two out of us three, Jack and Chuck, that picked Cody to win. Us three, myself, Jack, and Chuck, all picked Archer to win. I did kind of want to vent a little bit on this and bitch a little bit, if that's okay.
The floor is yours, man.
Okay, cool. I feel like this is the wrong decision for this match. This is the first gripe I've had with AEW since they started, but I feel like Lance Archer should have won this match. Cody doesn't need the title. He's one of the higher-ups in the company. Lance Archer, if you're going to bring him in as a monster heel, you're going to have him win the title and win the tournament. I was actually kind of pissed with this, like, the decision. The match itself was really good, but I don't see how you bring someone in like Lance Archer, give him Jake the Snake as his mouthpiece, build him up, have him squash people, and have him lose. Like I said, this is probably literally one of my first gripes that I've ever had with AEW since it. But this legitimately pissed me off. Actually, I'm not going to even sugarcoat it. I was very upset that Archer didn't win, and not from my standpoint, but from the company's standpoint. You bring someone in, build him up, monster, have the vignettes, have be his mouthpiece, and you have him lose. I mean, Cody's awesome. I love Cody. I've met him before. He's a good. Archer should have won this match, in my opinion, and I'm actually pissed by this. Like, I'm not WWE pissed like I am with them 99.9% of the time, but I disagree with this decision.
One thing it did come to mind. I mean, you know, I'm Team Cody. I was happy he won. I was surprised he won, but I'm happy he won. But the thought did cross my mind though. Like, you know, so what's next for Lance Archer now? Is he still gonna be creeping around with Jake the Snake? Is Jake gonna say he cheated? Like where? Like, you know, what's next for them now though? This kind of, I guess, close the chapter on the whole Cody versus Jake the Snake thing, doesn't it?
Exactly. And I still think Lance looks strong in defeat, like the previous match we talked about. But Lance, in my opinion, he should have won this match. Because now there are 2 title belts that they have in AEW. Actually, there are 3 title... Well, we'll get to this later. There are 2 title belts at this point in time. As soon as this match was over, Moxley is still the holder of the AEW heavyweight title, and Cody is the holder of the TNT title. There's 2 faces holding your titles. You can't have a whole face dynamic going on, and Hangman Page and Kenny Omega holding the tag team titles. That is 3 belts that you have in your company being held by faces. I don't think that's going to work, in my opinion. But I could be wrong. They know the business a lot better than I do, so I'm not going to bitch at their decisions that they make. But I just think Archer should have been the winner because he's severely underrated, in my opinion. Like I said, I've seen him personally at a Ring of Honor show in Pittsburgh. I've watched him in New Japan during the G1, and he's a very good heel. He could have elevated that title, and he's a monster. He's like 6'7", 6'8". Like, dude is a fucking beast, and he lost to Cody. I'm upset by it. I'm not gonna piss all over AEW all night, but I'm not happy with the decision, and I'll leave it at that.
Now, one last thing I do want to bring up. It also came to my attention that Mike Tyson will be appearing on this upcoming episode of Dynamite. So I don't know. That'll be like a last little thing to bring in Jake the Snake one more time with Archer, because I was hoping that too. I was hoping as a mouthpiece and stuff to have Jake the Snake, still be in AEW for a while longer. I hope this doesn't conclude all of that and have them go away. I want to see them around a while longer. But yeah, Mike Tyson's going to be in this episode of Dynamite. I hope it kind of sort of somehow keeps the story going somehow or something. But I'm curious.